He wasn't even close followers of what was going to happen. Don Swaggart, the famous televangelist Jimmy Swaggart's son, just said goodbye in a way that made the whole church stand still. Due to his broken voice and tears in his eyes, Donnie told something so private and shocking that many people are now asking what really happened and why his father was left all by himself. Not only was Donnie Swaggart's tearful goodbye sad, it was also shocking. For many years, the name Swaggart has been linked to fiery televangelism, strong preaching, and of course, major issues that shake the Christian community. But this was not like that. Donnie, who was known as the quiet but passionate face of Sun Life Broadcasting Network, spoke in front of his audience about things that no one thought he would say. With tears in his eyes and a shaking voice, he told the truth that had been kept from too many people for too long. Even the most powerful speakers can't get away from this truth about family, faith, and being alone. What really happened before Donnie said goodbye to the public? That's what today's movie is all about. We promise you that this story has turns you haven't heard anywhere else. We'll talk about his difficult relationship with his father, Jimmy Swaggart, the rumors going around the ministry, and the sad reason why Jimmy might have to spend his last years alone at age 89. Stay glued to the screen, because this movie isn't just a goodbye. It's about a heritage, a breakup, and what might be the end of one of the most controversial preaching families in American history. You won't believe what happened a few days before the speech, or who has been missing during the whole thing. Before we talk about Donnie's shocking end, we need to know how much this man has been through since birth. Don't think of Donnie Swaggart as just another speaker. He was born into a Christian family that was one of the most powerful and controversial in American history. During the 1970s and 1980s, his father Jimmy Swaggart became famous. Millions of people watched his fiery sermons, emotional altar calls, and dramatic music shows. Jimmy Swaggart Ministries made more than $150 million a year at its peak, sending shows to almost 2 million homes around the world every week. But the kingdom that made the Swaggarts rich also put them down. The incident in 1988, in which Jimmy Swaggart sobbed as he admitted to wrongdoings involving prostitutes, will always be remembered negatively by the family. The video of him praying, "I have sinned against you, my Lord," is now part of televangelist history. It was that moment that instantly turned his fans into doubters. This is where Donnie comes in. Jimmy and Frances Swaggart only had one son, Donnie. He became their only hope for forgiveness. From a young age, he was trained to take over the ministry, fix the image, rebuild trust, and keep the videos going. He preached, sang, and led the Sun Life Broadcasting Network for years while his father was sick. He looked like a well-trained heir to the throne. But behind the well-thought-out sermons and designer clothes, there was a guy with emotional scars and secrets that no one could see. People who knew the family say that Donnie was never really free to say what he thought. Everything had to fit with how the office looked. No questions, no defiance, just following the rules. His latest emotional breakdown wasn't just the end of things. It took decades to finally come out. But just a few days before they said goodbye, something very scary happened that changed everything. Every teary goodbye is caused by pain, stress, and feelings that haven't been dealt with. And people who know Donnie Swaggart say that he didn't reach his breaking point overnight. Tensions that had been kept secret for years led to broken relationships and a truth that could no longer be hidden. Staff at the Family Worship Center in Baton Rouge said they had seen Donnie acting strangely in the weeks before he made his emotional speech. He seemed more distant, missing meetings in the morning sometimes, and he allegedly left the stage during a recording break, which was something he had never done before. There were rumors going around. Was he not feeling well? Was there more trouble in the family? Was he really leaving? Sources close to the government then told them something much more personal. There were a lot of problems in Donnie's bond with his dad, Jimmy Swaggart. According to one person, the two hadn't really talked to each other in private for months and had only said nice things to each other in public to keep up the appearance of unity. Long-standing disagreements about the future of the ministry, how to handle money, and how much truth the public should be told about the family's inner problems are said to have caused this emotional distance. Donnie, who is now in his 60s, was said to have been asking for more openness because he wanted to deal with the elephant in the room: falling viewership, money problems, and a growing disconnect with younger believers. But those who said no said that Jimmy Swaggart, who is getting close to 90 years old, was determined to keep things the same. There was no change, no admission of failure, and most definitely no new direction. That wasn't all, though. A few former co-workers said they thought Donnie was also having problems with his family, like quiet conflict between his kids and their ministry jobs. It was said that Donnie's son Gabriel Swaggart, who is often seen as the next face of Sun Life, had started making business choices without asking him first. There was still Donnie living, but the Swaggart empire seemed to be moving on without him. Right in the middle of this emotional storm, Donnie did something brave. He spoke straight from the platform. Not as a televangelist or a leader, but as a man who had reached the end of his rope. He didn't stick to his planned lecture the night of his emotional speech. He put down the notes, took a moment, and looked right into the camera. Then he said it. "I've stood here for years, but today I stand as a son who has seen what the cost of silence is and who has carried a weight that wasn't meant for one man." It is said that the room went silent. Donnie then thanked the community, the ministry team, and even the people who didn't agree with him. Then there was the moment that really shocked everyone. The people you try to keep safe may end up leaving you the most alone. He might have been talking about Jimmy Gabriel or someone else. A member of the church for a long time said that wasn't just a speech. Donnie had been putting off that goodbye for 30 years. Are you shocked yet? Just wait until you hear about the person who didn't show up to support him that night. It was a very moving event that seemed to be the end of an era for the Swaggart family. You'd expect everyone to work together, especially those close to Donnie. There was a huge void of sound, though. People right away noticed that the father, Jimmy Swaggart, was nowhere to be seen during Donnie's moving speech. There wasn't a pan to the front row, a nod of approval, or any sign that he was backstage. It was strange and noticeable that the man who built the kingdom and gave Donnie the reins decades before was not there. That wasn't all. Frankie Swaggart, who is Donnie's mother and a big voice on Sunlife Broadcasting, also didn't show up. There wasn't a single message or social media post that mentioned how sad her son was. For people who went to church, this was impossible. Swaggarts have always been proud of how they look and how well they work together. They showed up together whether they were having a problem or a good time. They stayed in place on that platform like a dynasty, unable to be broken or moved. But Donnie was by himself that night. People who work at or near the ministry say this wasn't a mistake. Sources say that Donnie's choice to go off script and say what was on her mind without getting permission from her family may have caused a lot of anger within the family. One source said that Gabriel Swaggart, Donnie's own son, also decided not to go to the service a few hours before it started. He reportedly didn't want to because he was afraid that Donnie would get too upset and say something that couldn't be taken back. It turned into a full-on family fight. A source close to the situation said that people were debating whether he should even be allowed to speak, but Donnie pushed, and that's when they began to back down. Even stranger, people who have worked with and known the Swaggart family for a long time, including several important prayer leaders and co-hosts from the Sun Life panel, were told to skip this event. There was no choir behind him or any changes in the light. There was just a dark pulpit, one mic, and a man finally saying the truth. People who saw it live said that the truth wasn't so much about leaving the church as it was about coming out of the shadows. Not having Jimmy, Francis, and Gabriel there sent a strong message even though they didn't say a word. People all over the world, especially those who have been following the Swaggart Church for decades, could see that this family is broken on the inside. Even worse, no one has tried to say otherwise. There was no news release or follow-up on the broadcast. There was only silence. It's better to be quiet than to preach in the world of televangelism, where everything is carefully planned. What happened the next Sunday, though, shocked the church even more, and it made people wonder if Donnie will ever be welcomed back on that stage again. A lot of people watched Donnie Swaggart's emotional farewell and were hoping for follow-up messages, a tribute, or at the very least, some kind of public recognition from the church. But no one acknowledged or helped. It was like it never happened. In less than 48 hours, recordings of the Sun Life Broadcasting Network show started going around, but not the live version that people saw. The emotional goodbye, which went viral among loyal viewers, was cut out of all official rebroadcasts and uploaded lecture archives for some reason. There was a time when Donnie put down his notes and looked right into the camera. There were no longer the words "a son who has seen the price of silence." Instead, a clip part of a previously recorded speech was played. The ministry took away the very moment that connected with followers so strongly. Why would they do that? Some close to the production team said in a quiet way that orders came from above, most likely from Francis or Gabriel, to change the section before it got more attention. Sources say the ministry was trying to fix the damage because they were afraid that Donnie's words would be taken the wrong way and seen as a resignation, or, even worse, a charge against the Swaggart family, and this is where things get even stranger. A few days later, Donnie's public page on the Family Worship Center website was taken down for a short time. His biography, sermons that had been saved, and event performances were all unavailable for more than 72 hours. People on social media who saw the change began to ask questions. Was Donnie being erased or silenced? Was someone pushing him out? Someone who has been a fan for a long time wrote on Facebook, "I've watched Donnie for over 20 years, and now it's like they're trying to pretend he never said what he said." That's not only rude, it's also spiritually manipulative. There has still been no public word from Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, Sun Life Broadcasting, or anyone in the family. It seemed like nothing ever happened as the network went on with its shows. But people who know the Swaggart say that something very important has changed behind the scenes. In private, it is said that Donnie has turned down all offers to return to the pulpit, even for guest spots. Since then, he hasn't been seen on the network. Some say he's been put on an extended sabbatical, but no one in his family has said that in public, which adds to the rumors that Donnie may have been cut off without official notice. Even scarier, ministry workers were supposedly told not to talk about Donnie's address with calls, and instead to talk about upcoming sermons or general prayer requests. That's not just a lie, that shuts them up. And in televangelism, where family and tradition are very important, this kind of quiet transfer is often the start of something much bigger. What Donnie said in a private setting just days after the goodbye will blow your mind. It's the reason why some people now think he's planning to quit ministry for good. For many years, Donnie Swaggart was seen as the good son, the leader, and the person who would bring the Swaggart name into a new era. But those who know him best say that story may be coming to an end for good. It was said that Donnie had a secret dinner with a small group of close friends and former ministry colleagues in the days after his now-banned goodbye. One person who says they were there said that Donnie seemed calm but mentally drained, and what he supposedly said made everyone cold. He is said to have said, "I gave it my life and I never got to live it for myself." He then allegedly talked about regret, missed chances, and the painful truth of carrying someone else's load for too long. That person said Donnie even talked about writing a book. The book would not go through Sun Life's prayer, but it would tell the story of what it's really like to grow up in the light of fame, scandal, and spiritual battle. If it's true, this kind of book would be revolutionary and could be very bad for the Swaggart empire. It's being said more and more that Donnie has been having secret talks with another Christian media network, one that is known for supporting controversial figures who have had public problems. Some people say there is already a quiet deal on the table, giving Donnie his own stage where he could speak without being blocked or edited, and without feeling like he had to live up to his father's reputation. Could this be the start of something big for Donnie Swaggart's ministry? Adding more fuel to the fire, Donnie's personal social media accounts have recently become active again. They were either empty or managed by staff, but now they have new followers that are Christian authors, people who support emotional health, and even former ministers who have publicly left megachurch systems. It's clear that Donnie wants something real, maybe for the first time in decades, and fans are catching on.